Obviously, the Yankees took 2 out of 3 from pretty much the usual punching bag in the Minnesota Twins, although that wasn't as easy of a series win as in years past. You had that blowout loss with the uncharacteristically bad Nestor Cortez start, and it looked like they were going to have another loss when Garrett Cole could not make it out of the third inning. But you know what? The Yankees found a way to come back and win, and unfortunately, I didn't get to see that live because, as I mentioned, I was at Game 5 of the Rangers Lightning series. So you can imagine how shocked I was when the guy sitting behind me
they came back
hit 2 home runs. And you can imagine how even more shocked I was when I saw that Aaron Hicks hit a home runs, because these are the guys that have been much maligned in our lineup and guys that many people, in a way, myself included, but more so for Gallo because, I was a fan of the guy to begin with. But many people wanted out of the lineup to begin with. So that was definitely a huge series win. And, it just goes to show you the Yankees, whenever they're down, they're never down for too long. They're always coming back, fighting the next game, and they're going to find a way to win. It's been an incredible season so far.
It has been an incredible season so far. Well, as we're recording this right now, they're just about to get underway at the stadium. They took the first 2 games of a 3-game set with the Rays, and they're about to, I think, go up to Toronto to. I think it's a 3-game set at the Rogers Center, and then they'll go back to the Trop, and then back home to the stadium for 4 against the Astros. And this is the vaunted 20-game stretch that everybody was saying, where this team will be tested. Now, I mean, if you're a Yankee fan, as clearly both of us are, you haven't had a lot to complain about this season. I mean, they seem to have everything that we knew. I mean, we've known since, I'd say, maybe 2017, 2018, that they had the pieces to make a run, that they had the pieces to compete. Again, now they try to compete for a World Series every year. That's what makes the Yankees the Yankees.
Well, yeah.
But it never seemed as plausible as it does right now, because it seems like Brian Cashman made the right moves, that they're winning the games that they should win, because that teams that are that good should be winning. Because it really does seem to me, if you really look at it from a macro perspective, which I have, because I've been trying to dissect it every 15 different ways, and I've seen that, how shall I put this, that they're not making the same mistakes that they were last year, because last year was statistically a good season, statistically on paper, but you look closely and the fender had more than a couple of dents in it, and
yeah, I was going to say, if you'd watched the show last year, you would have been seeing a lot of Yankee rants, and like people would have been going up to me like, but the Yankees kind of have a decent season.
Because they're looking at the big picture. They're not looking
I was on record for calling them a not so fundamentally sound team last year, and I kind of stand by those takes from last year.
No, you're absolutely right to say they weren't a fundamentally sound team last year, because their defense was near bottom of the pack, and so was their hitting with runners in scoring position, and their ability. It just seemed like they were slow and plodding and home run or bust last year, because again the lineup was very overwhelmingly right-handed.
Mm-hmm.
But now, I mean, we started to see that shift in the trade deadline last season when they got Gallo and Rizzo, but it really seems to have crystallized where they finally are winning, hitting with runners in scoring position. The pitching's better than it's been in years, as in the starting rotation 1 through 5 has been as solid as it's been in a couple of years. The bullpen is, what do I have to say about Clay Holmes? The man's a revelation. And it seems like everybody likes to burn cash in effigy, as in Brian Cashman. But credit where credit is due so far, because he really seems to have finally pushed the right buttons.
And Schmidt strikes out the leadoff batter of this game. I'm going to give a little bit of a play-by-play as we go along with this show. So, but yeah, no, I agree. It's been a complete 180 as far as I'm concerned last year. I think the other The other problem that I didn't like about last year's team was they kept making so many outs running the bases, and
Exactly. Yeah.
that's
And,
another
and
problem.
and I don't know whether getting an entirely new coaching staff, hitting, except for pitching, and bench coach was really the difference. But it really seems like Luis Rojas has, as who is their new third base coach, taking over Phil Nevin,
Mhm.
really is emphasizing no, go on contact. Who cares? Who cares if you run out? Go, 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 go. And it's made a difference. It's also made a difference that they have guys that can actually move now. You actually have guys that can run and steal bases. Even people that you wouldn't think run a lot, like Judge and Stanton, they're going for it, and it does make a difference when you can hit the home run because you're not always going to. That's
Mhm.
what last year's team didn't seem to grasp. It's like you need to be able to. You're going to run into good pitching, and they're not going to be able to hit the ball, hit the cover off the ball all the time. But I really do think, based on what we know right now about this team as currently constituted, so they're 46-16. So that's 30
30
games
games
over
over
500.
500. That is the high water mark, as John Sterling often loves to say
Yeah,
during
it
podcasts.
is. It is the high water, but I'm not about to start, stripping naked and yelling hallelujah running through the streets
No,
because there
I
is a
don't.
lot of baseball to be done. There is a lot more to be played, and I need to see what is the ultimate measuring stick with this team, what the standard that we hold them to. It's what you do in October, right?
Correct.
And whether
Yeah, I
and
don't.
whether,
I don't
what
plan ticker tape parades until, like, say, October. So there you go.
yes, so I'm not going to anoint them, anoint them the new Lord and Savior until they actually are able to win the damn thing. So, but things do look very promising. But it really does seem like a lot of Yankee fans, especially the younger ones
Hmm.
that were a little bit, they grew up after the dynasty, so you're like you're 20, maybe 25-year old or even older Yankee fans, pre 77, pre Steinbrenner. It really does seem like a lot of people on Twitter, a lot of people on Yankees Twitter, are waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Yeah, if you're like me and you're like a millennial Yankee fan who was kind of in diapers during the dynasty, but only really saw
Yeah,
2009, kind of gonna be, you kind of have that feeling because I've been more used to the Yankees losing in, like, say, the ALCS, because remember they haven't even been to the World Series back since 2009. Imagine telling me that when I was in seventh grade. I probably would have looked at you as if you had three heads, but yeah, no, I am
I was in
totally.
college, so yeah, that was
Yeah, no, I'm
that was my
totally
yeah.
with you right there. And but yeah, no, I agree. And one thing that I needed to bring up, this was a trade that a lot of people were complaining about, and I know Johnny and I kind of agreed to disagree about the Josh Donaldson trade, but when I looked at that trade to begin with, I wasn't really look at getting the bringer of rain into the lineup, even though I knew getting him in there would be a tremendous thing. I was more excited about the fact that you got a shortstop who actually can play shortstop, unlike the failed Gleyber Torres experiment with that they tried last year and should have realized wasn't going to work. So, and getting IKF, like, he obviously got off to that rough start at the beginning of the season, but lately he is just
He
getting
found his
better.
stick.
Yeah, he can hit with the stick, and fielding wise, he keeps making good plays. And one of the big
He's
reasons
had a
why,
couple. He's had a couple miscues, but
oh
he's
yeah,
definitely a lot more fleet-footed playing short than Glaber was because
oh yeah,
and but that's the other thing we're not talking about. That's the other key to the success. It's the resurrection and transubstantiation of Glaber Torres. Because if Glaber Torres does not turn back into Glaber Torres this year, they're not as good as they are right now. He's a big
oh.
part of that.
Do you want to hear a fun fact about Gleyber Torres?
Yes, I do.
Right now, he has the same amount of home runs as he did in 2021 and 2020 combined.
Which only serves to underline my point. Where Gleyber Torres goes, this team will follow.
Yes.
Because you are expecting Judge and Stanton to have great seasons because they've done that, year in and year out when they can stay healthy, and they finally have, fingers crossed.
Mm-hmm.
But they need him to be the linchpin, the fulcrum on which this offense 1 through 9 pivots. It really does, because if he's hitting, then you can beat anybody.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. But speaking of guys who are hitting, though, Aaron Judge, 25 home runs already. I'm hearing a lot of 60 home run talk. And, it's funny. I saw an article where one of the Maris sons said that they would love for him to break that record. And notice how he said break that record, because he's obviously not counting Sammy Sosa and Barry Bonds. And
he just really
I'm not going to get into that discussion. That's for another episode. But I think that's pretty cool that he's getting the support from the Maris family. And, I don't know if that's a realistic possibility. I mean, I think really it all comes down to this. Aaron Judge has to stay healthy, for one thing, right? And sooner or later, he's probably going to go into that slump eventually. And look, every hitter gets into a slump. It's inevitable. But, having those home runs, I think, he clearly wants to come back and wants to get paid and stay in New York for a long time. So you got to love what you're seeing from Aaron Judge. So
I absolutely do. And I would make the point that spite is a powerful engine, and I do believe that spite is kind of powering him here. It's like, okay, you wanted me to bet on myself? Watch this. So we've seen Aaron Judge hit the cover off the ball, and 60 is definitely a possibility. However, I would trade it if it meant we could go deeper in the playoffs. It's like, I don't need him to. Yeah.
Retweet.
Exactly. if I don't need him to hit 60 home runs, believe me, he's already he's already the cornerstone he's already the face of this franchise in the modern era. So he doesn't need that much more accolades. So because the reason why you're here and the reason why you compete day in and day out is to bring the trophy to New York, right?
Yep. I bet you Aaron Judge would probably want to trade that as well. I mean, if he wins a World Series, all it takes is one World Series, and then you pretty much become...
And then you're set for life, yeah.
Unless you're the guy in the back of my shirt, Don Mattingly, then that's a different story. But Don Mattingly...
Then all of a sudden that becomes, he's good, but he never won a World Series.
But even then, Don Mattingly has a special place in the hearts of lots of Yankee fans. My stepbrother included is one of them, and probably, and you could even make the case that he probably should be in the Hall of Fame based on the fact that his stats are very similar to Kirby Puckett's. That's another thing I'll talk about for another day.
Yeah.
But another thing I got to ask, Clay Holmes, do we put him in the closer's role permanently? I don't know about you, but I have been very anti-Chapman for the past few years. And it's not so much because of the domestic violence situation. It's just because, in a way, he's kind of a real-life Ricky Vaughn, if you know what I'm saying.
We do have selective amnesia when it comes to off-the-field issues. Because, again, we all say root for the laundry, even though that encompasses a wide range of behavior. But in terms of on the field stuff, I mean, I would, when Chapman comes back, I mean, you gotta ride the hot hand. So Clay Holmes stays in the closer role until he either gives up a couple of runs or he's off or he's been overused. So then you slot Chapman there.
Yep.
So that, because honest to God, you don't know. Well, I'm sure you do know because, again, you're a Yankee fan. But flipping a coin as to whether good Chapman or bad Chapman was going to show up on any given night, it definitely made one wax nostalgic for the days of Mariano Rivera or even the days of Rafael Soriano.
Oh God, he was good. Everyone forgets how good he was in those few years.
Everyone forgets how good he was.
Even David Robertson, although David Robertson kind of gave me a bit of agita too with his Houdini act of putting runners on.
Yeah, he did. It's almost like I don't know. It's almost like he couldn't think without runners on base. But yeah, I would. Yeah, the fact that he was able to, like Clay Holmes, was able to, because was he a Pirates prospect or was he actually on the team?
He was on the team, and you know what his ERA was when he was with the Pirates? It was well over 7. So the fact that he's been pitching like this is nothing short of remarkable. And you want to know what's funny? I saw a tweet from Your Name Tree. I don't know if you're familiar with that YouTube guy who makes a lot of those lolcow videos.
We've interviewed him.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's right. I remember. Morgeson told me about that. So
yeah, we did. Yeah,
there was a tweet from him that surfaced from a year ago when the Yankees traded for Clay Holmes. And Tree knew how bad this guy was because remember, Tree's a hardcore Pittsburgh sports fan.
Yeah, so he would know.
He was like, "We got something in return for Clay Holmes. Let's celebrate!" And then Cold Takes Exposed resurfaced that tweet, and it's like, "Oh my gosh!" And keep in mind, Tree, as funny and as great as Tree is, he's gotten a lot of stuff wrong.
I mean, that's why you do what I do. You reserve the right to be wrong. I mean, yes. I don't claim to be any kind of grand prognosticator, but I think Clay Holmes' success is A, due to Clay Holmes, and B, due to what the pitching coaches have been able to do with him. I mean, Matt Blake in particular.
Well, yeah,
whatever he did, I mean, it's magic.
Pitchers. Pittsburgh's been terrible at developing pitchers too. Like, look at how much better Garrett Cole got after he left.
Is it really? Because two of our starters and one of our relievers was from the Pirate system. So we're like, if the Pittsburgh Pirates were good.
Well, Tyon was all right, but then he didn't get to pitch much because of his surgeries. But again, as I said, they got better after they left the Pirates. And there's no doubt in my mind that if what's that guy's name? Glasnow. If Glasnow
Tyler Glasnow.
No doubt he would have developed the way he did. There's no way he would have developed the way he did with Tampa Bay.
Yeah, absolutely not. But again, the Rays are. I've got my own issues with the Rays, which I'll leave because I would rather not get vulgar on your show. But
oh no, you're good. I've had Hopper on my show. Shout out Andy if you're listening, but I've seen him go on some vulgar rants on my show, but it's all good.
Oh, it's all good. Okay, so let me add. Let me add this.
You can't say that.
Okay, so let me add this to the record officially. Fucking Rays, man.